everybody on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and wherever you can find good social media content. I am Derrick Day, and this is Unreligious. Excuse me. I'm kind of getting over something here. I had a little crud in the air and it made its way through our house. And anyway, long story short. But anyway, let's get right to the subject, because this show, this podcast, this live cast, live stream, whatever it is that you want to call it, is all about bringing religion down to its knees. Is basically bringing religion down to the point where, listen, my personal agenda, my personal desire is to see religion eradicated from the face of the earth, because I think it has no purpose for modern humanity. That basically we've outgrown this. We don't need this anymore. And so with that being said, move on and start talking about what I'm talking about. And that is this. Religion is the ultimate power grab. It is the power grab. It is the mother or the motherfucker of all power grabs. What religion exists for purely is the manipulation and control of people. Now, watch this, because people have gods or they have deities that they believe in. And these deities were created to give humanity some explanation for the shit that they couldn't explain. To give them an explanation for thunder, lightning, rain, earthquakes, floods, women's menstrual cycles, babies, all of these things that we didn't understand in our nascent humanity. We didn't know where these things came from. We didn't know how they happened. We hadn't devised the scientific method. We didn't know what we didn't know. And so it's easy to think that perhaps there is some deity, some overarching sky daddy that somehow controls all of this. Well, as time marches on, we begin to grow in knowledge and understanding. We begin to grow in our understanding of how nature works. And then we devise the scientific method. We're able to test and approve things. We're able to find out that which is tangible, measurable, and repeatable. And those things we effectively canonize into what we consider to be reality. Now, quantum physics teaches us that we really don't understand reality such as it is, because there are things at the natural level we can touch and feel things, and there's a sense of knowing. But at the quantum level, things are kind of scattered and not predictable. There's a lot of uncertainty at the quantum level. And so those are things that we're still growing and understanding of. But now that we understand these things, or now that we're growing in understanding, we don't need religion. We don't need gods. We don't need holy books. We don't need any of this stuff. But back to power. So these gods were created to explain natural phenomena that we couldn't explain. And then somebody gets an idea. Hey, what you need is a priest. See, this priest is going to serve as the intermediary between you and the great sky daddy. Then this priest says, well, in order for me to communicate with the sky daddy, I need stuff from you. I need to see your worship. I need to see your praise. I need to see your adherence and faith to what sky daddy is saying through me. In other words, adherence to me. And most of all, I need your money. I need your substance for my sustenance. And that, my friends, is religion in a nutshell. Now, people will say, well, religion helps to attain and maintain peace in the world. Well, if you know anything about history, you know that's absolute bullshit, because the majority of wars in recorded history have some religious undertone or overtone. That's right. There's something religious related to every war. And again, one of the things that back in the day, before people were literate and before they had access to information and before they began to move around in society, you had to have a way of controlling people. And what they did was they said, if you just follow what is being taught here, that at the end of your very short life, because at the time religion was really making its inroads, right? People didn't live very long. So if at the short end of your life or the end of your short life, you get your mansion in the sky, you get a castle just like the king has, or a palace just like the king has, and you get to eat sumptuously like the king eats, and you get to wear beautiful clothing like the king wore. In other words, you're deferring your wealth, your well-being, your happiness into some afterlife over which you know nothing about. But because people didn't have information, it's easy to win them over with this. It's easy to pull the wool over their eyes. And that, friends, is what religion does. It's to keep you in bondage so that you behave a certain way, so that you follow certain tenets and precepts, and so that you become somewhat docile. Because if people actually realize what religion does and how it is used and abused, y'all, there would be armed revolt. I mean, literally, there would be armed revolt worldwide if people really understood this. And here's the thing: Christianity is the most successful of all of these religions. Now, you can argue that there are more Hindus because there are more Hindus in India. India has 1.5 billion people, but Hinduism doesn't largely spill over outside of India, outside of Indian immigrants. But Christianity, on the other hand, has been taken to all the corners of the world. And how is it done? By telling you that we represent the great God, the one true God, and his son who wants to save you. He wants to save your dirty, filthy pagan ass. He wants to save you. And if you accept this premise and follow its tenets, that even though you have a shitty life right now, that you will receive that great pie in the sky in the sweet by and by. Now, there's an old African proverb that says that when Christianity came to Africa, that the missionaries had Bibles and the Africans had land and gold. And when the missionaries left, they had land and gold, and the Africans had Bibles. You see what's going on here? There's another Inuit proverb that says that the missionaries came and told the Inuit chief about Jesus. And the chief asked, well, what's in it for me if I accept this Jesus? Well, you'll go to heaven. And what if I don't accept this Jesus? Well, you go to hell. And he says, well, what if you never told me about this? In other words, if the chief never knew anything about Jesus, he would know what there would be no hope for heaven or fear of hell. Religion, y'all, is the ultimate power grab. And here's where it's really beginning to rear its ugly head again. Now, granted, here's the thing. We have an opportunity to shut this shit down once and for all. We have that power, and that power is information. Religion, friends, dies at the feet of information. And time kills all gods. The problem is that we now have, in the information age, we have misinformation and bad information occupying the same space with true, good, real information. And that's a problem, because one of the things, you see, information has spread and become diffuse faster than humanity can develop a robust enough bullshit filter. And I tell my sons this all the time, that you need to develop and harden a really robust bullshit filter. Because I told them that as kids, that 85 to 90% of what their friends told them was complete and total bullshit. Absolute nonsense, absolute garbage, and you could disregard it. And I told them that as you get older, that percentage of what is bullshit goes down. And for the people that are close to you, you might asymptotically get to something like 80, 85% of what you hear is true, because if you're good at character assessment and surround yourself with good people of intellectual integrity and honesty, then maybe you'll get to the 85%. But most people don't. Most people surround themselves with messy. And because you surround yourself with messy, information is messy. And messy information is worthless. That's why in the business that I work in IT and in information technology, there is a whole practice dedicated to data cleansing. Why? Because some of the data that you have may be outdated. Some of the data that you have may be duplicated. Some of the data that you have just may not be relevant. And some of it may be bad data. And you have to take on that same sort of mindset in the real world, that all information isn't created equal. So what happens is religion tries to make sure that there is enough bad information out here to counter the good information, to keep you confused, because there's another old saying that if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, you baffle them with bullshit. And that's what religion does, because there's nothing brilliant about it. This is basically when you understand the history of religion, when you understand how religion is implemented. When you understand all these things, when you understand the history of the different religions of the world, you come to the conclusion, you have to come to the conclusion, because the only logical and rational conclusion that you can come to, that religion is absolute bullshit. It's bullshit, y'all. So here's one of the things that religion has done. I'm going to pick on a really well-known one, and that is the topic of abortion. Because really, abortion isn't a thing. When people say they're pro-life, that's absolute bullshit. Because if you're pro-life, you'd be anti-war, you'd be pro-programs for the poverty, for the poor, you'd be pro-benefits for veterans, blah, 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 blah. All of these different things. You know, in other words, you wouldn't just be pro-birth, you'd really be pro-life, like universal health care, universal education, universal basic income. These are all things that would actually contribute to life. These are the things that would absolutely contribute to the betterment and advancement of humanity. But religion comes in and they hang their hat on abortion. Why? Because abortion is a very polarizing, emotional issue. Because everybody loves babies. Even people that don't like kids love babies. And so it's easy to build your brand, because that's what they're doing, build your brand around abortion. Now, you get this misinformation that says that abortion is the most important thing because we have to protect the unborn. We have to protect the defenseless. Meanwhile, the true defenseless, the poor and the disenfranchised who suffer at the hands of the wealthy and empowered, or the people that actually have a franchise in society. Y'all know what that means, right? Privilege. Those people go unnoticed, unheard, and unhelped. Because everything hangs on this thing about religion. And so now I'm wondering, now that the Christian right, talking to you Republicans, now that you've gotten Roe versus Wade overturned, and now the woman's right to control the reproductive apparatus of her body is now no longer protected at the federal level. Now that you have that, now what? Now what? Because see, here's the thing. Power concedes nothing without a struggle, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the idea is that it cannot stop with abortion. Now it's got to go to other things. So what are these other things? What are these other things? Some of the things are maybe turning back the clock on marriage equality, the ability for same-sex couples to marry. Perhaps that's one thing. Perhaps it's rescinding the right to equal housing for the LGBTQ community. Perhaps it's turning back the clock on equal housing for Blacks and other minorities. Because this can't, basically, power, once you get a taste of it, you become addicted to it. And that addiction has to be fed, and it's fed with the blood and sweat of the people that can't defend themselves against it. So now the power machine has to rev up and find the next thing that it's going after. And this is the thing that I'm telling, I say this all the time, is that if you don't speak up for the downtrodden, for the disenfranchised, if you don't lend your voice to them, it's only a matter of time, friends, relatives, boys, girls, that you will become the disenfranchised. See, I used to say this about police brutality, and these chickens are coming home to roost, in the words of the late, great Malcolm X. The number of Black people in America is finite, and we represent maybe 13% of the population. It wouldn't take long for the majority to overrun the minority and get Black people through the criminal justice system in the same condition that they were in under slavery. It really wouldn't take that long. So the supply of Negroes is finite. And sooner or later, the power establishment will run out of that supply of Black folks. And when they run out of Black folks, they're coming for someone else because, again, the quest for power is absolute power. And so you will see blacks incarcerated, blacks murdered by police, blacks abused by the power, authority, and the powers that be. Then it'll go to the next minority and the next minority. And then sooner or later, you'll start seeing white males within the age of marriage and earning. You'll start seeing them killed by police. And at that point, the frog has been completely boiled. There is no turning back, because the silence that you gave to blacks and other minorities while they were being abused is now going to befall you. It's going to befall you because there will be no one to speak up on your behalf. There will be no one to defend you. You will simply go down with all of the rest of the rats on the sinking ship. And eventually, whatever's left, the truly wealthy, the truly powerful, whatever's left, eventually they will go to killing themselves because, again, once tasted, wants absolute power, which corrupts absolutely. And all of this, the blame for all of this, the responsibility for all of this lies at the foot of religion. Because religion, because of its nature and its passionate motivation to people, has greater power to change things than any other force in humanity. Honestly, and I said this before, that the entire Black Lives Matter, the entire police brutality issue, the entire disenfranchise of Black folks by the criminal justice system could be almost turned back or fixed overnight if white Christians just simply said enough. And you know what? I have some empirical data that can prove that. Mr. Peabody, set the Wayback Machine to 1964. Selma, Alabama, and the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and John Lewis and other members of the SCLC marching for civil rights decide to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge into Selma to protest how Black people were being treated. And just like clockwork, the Alabama State Patrol, the Alabama National Guard, local Alabama police departments and sheriff's departments all descended on these freedom marchers and began to beat the dog shit out of them. But a funny thing happened on what they call Bloody Sunday. And that was major television networks were on the scene recording what happened. And thanks to the magic of the space race and satellites being lofted into orbit that were able to beam signals all over the world, everybody got to see this shit in real time. And you know what happened? See, whites in the South were down with this because this was their way of life. But white people in other places, they had a clue that this was going on. They had an inkling that this was going on, but they were like, not my circus, not my monkeys. And they kind of turned their eye and their ear away from the plight of the disenfranchised and the downtrodden. But when they saw this on television, they were outraged. And they were outraged to the point where I've heard told that the phone calls coming in to the switchboard at the Capitol and the White House were literally broken by the volume of calls, because people decided that we need to speak up, stand out to turn this crap back and to give people the rights that they so richly deserve. And do you know what happened? That there was such pressure put on the White House that President Johnson helped shepherd through the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and the Equal Housing Act and the War on Poverty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That there was pressure put on government, and watch this, by Christians. See, that's the power that Christians and the church actually have. They could change it. Listen, police brutality is a matter that could be settled overnight. Racial discrimination, discrimination against the LGBTQ community, discrimination against women, discrimination against Native Americans, discrimination against Asians could all be settled in a matter of days if Christians, who are the preponderance of the population of this country, just simply said enough. But they don't now, because what's happened is other people have achieved certain rights and privileges that certain Christians felt like they shouldn't have. And you'll hear them say things, well, we've done enough for Black people. We've done enough for Asian people. We've done enough for the Native Americans. Can't you guys just forget about the past? No, you can't forget about the past, because we're still suffering from the effects of the past. And it was religion that basically gave slavery its power. It was religion that gave Native American genocide its power. It was religion that gave the Holocaust its power. Do you see what I'm saying? It was religion that basically made all of these things possible. Why? Because this was the tool by which they were used to keep people docile. Now, I had a interesting exchange with a fellow on Facebook earlier today, and he suggested, well, what was the cause? What God did in the French Revolution? And I said there were no gods worshipped. Well, his take on it was that logic and reason were the gods that the French revolutionaries worshiped. Now, let's stop and look at that for a second. Logic and reason are not gods, and it's not a religion, because there are none of the trappings of religion. There are no churches or temples. There are no altars. There are no books, no priests. There's none of that. Atheism is, well, atheists are not even organized. I hate the word atheism now. And so when logic and reason ruled, it wasn't a matter of them worshiping anything. It was just that people finally realized, hey, the religion has propped up the king and the aristocracy, so now let's get rid of this. And so they did. But the French learned something about the revolution, and that was this: that if we don't do something to keep the people docile, this revolution could spread even further. And so the people with money and land and power decided that they would give some concessions to the people of France to keep them docile. And who was at the forefront of that? The church, religion. They keep the people docile so they wouldn't rebel any further, because I personally think that the French Revolution, like the American Revolution, although the American Revolution is a little bit different, but in the French Revolution, they didn't go far enough. They stopped at killing the monarchy. they should have went further. I'm not ever suggesting that anybody should kill anybody. I'm saying, looking at it from a historical lens, that maybe had they just kind of gone a little bit further, that maybe the world would be different. Because the French Revolution sparked a whole lot in Europe that changed the entire face of Europe. As far as the American Revolution went, I think that once we realized that we handed the British their asses here in the colonies, and we had sea power that we could project, I think that we should have went back to the British Isles and kind of finished the job. Now, that's me. That's my historical perspective. But back to what I'm saying, because the thing that I want you all to understand, and what I want you to take away from this discussion is this: that the only reason why religion puts up such a big fight right now is because they know that their time is limited. It's like a heavyweight champ that knows he's gotten the shit beaten out of him, and yet and still he continues to stand up instead of taking the fall. He continues to battle on, even though he's being bludgeoned near to death. And he's swinging haymakers, hoping one will connect against this new and up and coming champion. And that new and up and coming champion is a fellow by the name, or maybe a lady, by the name of Logic and Reason. And Logic and Reason is just handing religion its ass left and right. And Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, they all see the writing on the wall. They know that change is coming. But the only ones that are resisting this change and getting people caught in the crossfire are Christianity and Islam. Because they're the only two that their basis, their existence depends on proselytizing. But if you look at the numbers worldwide, whoo-hoo, they're dying. They're dying. The numbers are shrinking. And that's a good thing. This is what we want to see happen. This is what we need to see happen. But religion is deeply entrenched. They have their hooks in politics, in the financial system, in the manufacturing section, and the service section of this country. There are hooks for religion in all of these. And another thing, that if you ever see, I was a pastor. I was in ministry for 30 years. And I was a senior pastor for 12 years. I was a bishop for 7 years, almost 8 years. I was an associate pastor for several years prior to all of that. And one of the things that I got to see is things like about church growth. How do we make church bigger, more relevant? And you know what the number one thing is? The number one key to the success of any new or up and coming church is a children's ministry. And you want to know why? Because indoctrination and grooming is hella important. If you don't get them while they're young, you're not going to get them. But there's a beautiful thing happening right now, and that's like social media. Listen, there are some people that hate social media, and they say, "Oh, social media is of the devil." Well, yeah, if the devil is what's opposed to what you believe, then yes, it is the devil. But it's the motherfucking devil. It's the Mac Daddy of devils, and here's why. It is helping young people connect and see religion for the bullshit that it is. And that my friends, is cutting religion off at the knees. That is what is absolutely bringing religion to a screeching fucking halt. And I'm going to tell you something. I love it. It's funny because you'll watch people and they look at people like me and they complain. Watch this. If I am no threat to religion or the religious establishment, then if you're a religious person, you can just simply ignore me. You could treat me as if I'm just some anomaly. But you don't. You come back and there are people right now who are complaining about what I'm saying here. And the beauty of it is that I'm not alone. I'm not your John the Baptist, the voice crying out in the wilderness. I'm one of many. And we're intelligent, we're informed, and we're fucking vocal. And that's a problem to religion, because the thing is that religion stands on such shaky legs that it's not going to take very many. And again, on Facebook, I reposted a meme saying that, you know, even though we atheists will not see the fruit of our labor, we are planting seeds that will bring religion to an end at some time in the not too distant future. And somebody came back and responded and said, "Oh no, Derrick, we may actually see it in our lifetime." Oh, I can't tell you how fucking ecstatic that would make me to see religion tumble down to the earth and be relegated to the shit can of history. Nothing would be finer than to see that happen. So in the meantime, I'll keep saying what I'm saying, because there are people that say, "Well, why are you picking on religion? Just, you know, it's dying. Let it die." No, I'm down there. See, this is what I found out, is that the life support for religion isn't just plugged in, it's hardwired. I don't know if y'all know what that means, but basically it's like wired in. It's not like where you could just pull the plug. In order to pull the plug on religion, we're going to have to turn some screws and undo some taps, maybe do a little bit of soldering and maybe a little bit of cutting. It's going to take some effort. It's not going to be as simple as pulling the plug. That would be too easy. But religion, they have power. And so in order to undo religion, you have to undo the power source. Y'all get what I'm saying? That's what has to happen. You have to undo the power source. And it's going to take time. It's going to take patience. And let me say this, because I know like the religious are watching this and they're hoping that they can rewrite their playbook to kind of counteract the things that I'm saying. But listen, y'all, come close. I just want to tell y'all that it's too late. The horse has already left the barn. It's already out, and so now it's just a matter of time. It's just there are two things: information and time. Information and time. Information and time. These two things are going to actually bring religion down. So that's what I have for this week. Now let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Either and for you TikTokers, you can hit me up in the comments, but it doesn't last. You can't go back and read it, and I think that's really terrible. As for the Instagrammers, y'all can see the comments. Facebookers, Twitterers, all of y'all can see all of this stuff. You can see the comments. Let me see. Let me go through some of these comments here. Yeah, the weekdays are named after gods. Yeah, they are. But you know what? We could always go to the Julian calendar, which is just numbers. Let's see who else said here. Let's see a couple of people following the host. Thank you. Somebody say, hey Natty Wagwan. I'm not a Rasta, y'all. I don't have any any religious affiliation. As a matter of fact, I hate all religions. All religion is bullshit. I just kind of pick on Christianity because I actually know it. Yeah, I got my first comment from Twitch is like, "Hi, what up, G?" I love it. And then Sin Hyung on Facebook says Salamat Pagi, which I think Salamat means thank you. So I appreciate that. And let's see who's on Instagram. We got a bunch of folks here on Instagram. Let me just wave at people. Wave at you. Wave at sending waves to Instagram. I'm so grateful for everybody that showed up tonight. You know, this is the first time that I'm doing this on multiple streams, multiple platforms. So I'm so glad. I'm so honored for y'all to be there. My man Jimmy Ligon says all religion is crappy, crap, potty crap, or shitty crap. I love it. So I'm so glad that you joined, Jimmy. Yeah. In other words, shit. Absolutely. I would give the links for people to join in, but I'm not going to do that because I can. It's like if I let somebody in on Instagram, the people on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube can't see them, and if I let the people on that can get in via Restream get in, then the people on TikTok and Instagram can't see. So I'm pretty much. But listen, I really want to hear what you guys think about this. I mean, do you think that I'm right? Is their religion is the ultimate power grab? That without religion, that people would be free to make their own decisions, or do you think, hey, Derrick, are you full of shit? And either way, I'm curious as to find out what you think. I'm curious to learn your thoughts. So if you're watching this on TikTok, feel free to inbox me, with your questions, comments, and anybody else. And if you have any questions or comments, or a matter of fact, if you could think of any cool atheist or agnostic guest that you think might be entertaining on Unreligious, please let me know, and I'll reach out to them, and we'll see if we can't get them on, because I like a good one-on-one conversation, especially when we get to share it with thousands of others. And don't forget about my podcast on Sunday, Forward Live. I'm going to get back to that. I took this last Sunday off because it was the first Sunday, it was the first weekend this year that I didn't have to actually work for my secular, or my, secular, because I'm always thinking about my time in ministry, my full-time job. This is the first weekend I didn't have to work, so I slept late a couple of times, and I just really fucking enjoyed that. But I'll be back on Sunday, and then tomorrow evening, don't forget to watch Freeology Friday, where I'm joined by my friend, my brother, my co-host and road dog, partner in crime, Aaron Tomlinson, where we take on, I don't know, whatever we think is cool. And we do it with drink in hand and cussing on the tongue, because that's the way we fucking roll. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and check out, y'all. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Peace out.